Now, today we are talking about the power of creating systems in your business. And I'm going to give you 3 systems that you could be implementing right now. Hey, love, you're listening to the Mums in Biz Show, and I'm Nick Tuareg. Every week I bring you the unvarnished version of what it means to be a mum running a brilliant business, what you need to be doing to get it to where you want it to be, and a healthy dose of how to get the heck out of your own way. Let's dive in. Hey, ladies, and welcome to episode 2 of the Mums in Business Live show. Welcome. So, this is episode 2. Did you catch episode 1? If you didn't, make sure that you scroll back through the feed and have a look at that. Last week we were talking all about how to step up to be the CEO now that your future business needs you to be. And there was some really powerful tips in there for you for how you can start to know who that person is right now. And if you are looking to follow this show and have the opportunity to watch the lives, then make sure that you subscribe to get the updates so you can watch them live. Now, today we are talking about the power of creating systems in your business. And I'm going to give you 3 systems that you could be implementing right now just to help things be smoother, be easier, be more streamlined, and take less effort than it really is taking you right now. Because most of us, when we're in small business, particularly as busy mums, many of you are working as well as doing mum life and being the homemaker and all of the roles that we play in life, and your business as well. And so life gets a bit hectic, am I right? So one of the things that we can do to really help ourselves is streamline, and that's what today is all about. So think about it for a second. Imagine yourself, close your eyes, and think about yourself sitting there in your business. What if you had regular, reliable revenue coming in every single month? What if you didn't hustle for the money that you were earning? What if you had systems and processes in place that enabled you to know what was going to come in next month, to be able to plan ahead for an investment that you wanted to make, to be able to relax a little bit and not have quite so much pressure on you, or not feel that self-doubt? You know that feeling in the middle of the bottom of your stomach when you set yourself a stretch financial goal and you know that you're not really committed to it, or you just don't believe that you're going to hit it. And I'm pretty much going to guarantee that when you feel that feeling, you don't hit that goal. And there are lots and lots and lots of reasons for that. A big one is your headspace and your mindset and your sense of self-belief. And most importantly, though, your commitment to that goal and the things that you're prepared to do to get there, which don't need to be hard things. It's just actually doing them. So sometimes we actually relish the hustle. We love that busyness, especially when you're new in business, especially when you're sort of thinking, okay, I feel busy. I feel like I'm doing productive things. I feel like my business must surely be growing because of all the busyness that I've got going on. But what if your business could happen with ease and grace? What if it was more effortless? What if you had the freedom within your business to be able to try new things and experiment without taking a hit to the bottom line? That's what I'm talking about when I say getting systems implemented in your business. And I'm not talking about expensive programs. I'm not talking about spending a lot of money on automation systems. I'm talking about understanding how your business works and documenting that in a way that makes it repeatable. It makes it easy to hand over to someone if you're going to get some help. And it makes it something that you can pick up each time you want to do something. For example, like the challenge that I'm running on Monday, I have a process that I follow for that. I've done them before, and all I need to do is replicate that process and update all of the dates, and I just follow it through. And what it means is it doesn't take as much brain space. And so I can accomplish a lot more things within the time frame heading up to a challenge like this one, because I don't need to constantly be thinking about all the things I need to do. That's what I'm talking about. And so if you're constantly focusing on adjusting right now to keep the money coming in without any time to focus on the long term, that's going to hurt your business in the long term. And so that's what I'm talking about today is really starting to become aware of the things that you're doing in your business on a regular basis. They might be things like onboarding clients, things around your marketing, how you put together a blog post, for example. I have a process around how I generate the content for these episodes that I'm doing right now. It literally took me half an hour to do the outline for today's episode because I knew what I wanted to talk about. I have a content plan. I have a standard format that I just copy and paste the template in, and then I fill it in with the content that I want to talk about. And what's great is I can then take that and turn that into a blog post, which means I can put way more effort into the valuable content that I put into the blog post because I'm not thinking about the structure. I've got it all sorted out. So you can see how that can make a big difference to you to be able to map those things out. So today what I'm going to do is give you 3 examples of a system that you could be implementing right now, just to get you to start thinking about what that can be. And I would love it if you came back and told me about systems that you've got going or processes that you're already following that are working really well. I know that other people who are watching will absolutely be able to benefit from that as well. So the first one I'm going to talk about is planning for how you're being visible and where. That age-old chestnut around the rabbit warren of social media and how we get value going and how we do that in a way that does not consume every waking hour. And I am not going to tell you for 1 second that I am an absolute expert at this, because I'm as guilty as the next person of getting stuck on Instagram or Facebook and the feed scroll. But I do have a few things that have made a massive difference to how much time it takes for me. So what this means is being really deliberate about your social and marketing time and attention. So one thing that's super important is blocking time. Make sure you're very deliberate about the time that you allow yourself to do things. And that might look like a specific time of day or something like that. It might mean that you only allow yourself an hour or 2, if you're going to be a bit generous. But it looks like having control of your diary and the time that you're dedicating. But it also means having a map. So you need to know where you're going to be posting, how many times a day or a week that you're posting, what you're posting, and what's the purpose of your posting. So that's 4 things you want to know when you're doing your visibility map. Where, how many times, what are you posting, and what is the purpose? And the purpose is maybe one of the most important things before you get started. I don't know if any of you guys have sat there with that complete block, no content coming to you, you're staring at a blank screen, trying to come up with something witty to say to put into a social post, and you end up just typing stuff out. You don't really feel like you're adding value. You feel like it's just this horrible, I don't know about you, but for me, it's a really icky feeling. I don't like it at all. And so that's where the planning came from. It may or may not be a personality trait also of mine. And so what I recommend though is if you're in that place, start with 1 or 2 platforms and get really deliberate about those. And then it's a lot easier to branch out and get yourself organized. And so we've talked about, anybody who's caught previous episodes or the trainings that I've been doing, you'll know that I talk about knowing your ideal client and knowing where they hang out. And so if you know which platforms your ideal client hangs out on, then those need to be the ones that you start with, because you want to get most bang for your buck. The other thing that's really important is making it a platform that you enjoy. So if you hate Instagram, I actually don't know too many people who do, but if you hate it, don't make that one of your focus areas, because it's going to be really, really hard for you to get into that. That might be something you can outsource down the road. Start with Facebook if you absolutely love Facebook. Start with something that's comfortable and that you know what you're doing. If you're in groups on Facebook, for example, participate in a couple of groups, but just select a few. Don't try and be across 10 or 15 groups. You can't build authentic relationships that way. It's going to take way more time than it needs to, and it's not going to be delivering value for the amount of time that you're spending. But you might have 2 or 3 that you love, and so just commit to showing up regularly in those and engaging in the posts. And yep, Annette made a comment there, repurpose, repurpose, repurpose. Absolutely. I have been doing deliberate Facebook posts for several, probably about 4 or 5 months now. And in this last week, I've had to quickly do a content plan so that I could give it to my VA to do the posting for me. And I was able to go back through my previous messages and previous images that I've used and repurpose images. So it took no time at all. So repurpose and use your content. You want to systematize your visibility though. I recommend getting a simple table. There are so many tools out there. Monday.com is great. I use Airtable. I think that's amazing. You could use some of the things like Asana, Trello. They're all great tools. Or you could just use a good old Excel template, which is what I started doing. And I literally did a map that said, okay, this is where I'm going to be showing up. These are the days of the week. These are what I'm going to do. And I just had a grid and I just followed it. So have some kind of regular way to monitor what and how you're doing. And the big thing, I think, is being really deliberate about your planning time. So once a week, sit down and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do for the next week. If you can do it for longer, great. I love having a plan. I don't necessarily always love doing the plan, so I do tend to do it for as long a period of time as I can, and map out what that content's going to be. I've found that it's super easy to have a theme. So pick a content theme per week, and that way when you're writing a chunk of content, you can sit down, write 5 blog posts, or you can batch write blog posts actually, or 5 post content sections, and create all of your images, those sorts of things, and just have everything ready to go. And then it literally takes you 15 minutes a day to do your posting. So get really deliberate about that, have a template, and then all you've got to do is just execute it. Or you can have someone do that for you. So social posting is a brilliant place to start if you're getting your first VA on board, and it just can be something that's, if you're organized about it, it's easy to hand over. If you're not, then both you and your VA are going to end up frustrated because neither of you have the right information to be able to make it work. So you're doing yourself a favor by getting on top of this early. Those are my top tips. The other thing I would suggest around your visibility approach is using a scheduler wherever you can to streamline. People have different opinions around schedulers. I love them. I don't use them all the time, but I do use them for things like Instagram. I use them for Pinterest, and I use them for my profile posting. I also use them for regular posting in my group. Everything else I do with a personal touch. So those are the things that are really important. And finally, get a strategy around regular weekly visible content. So you want to be producing something new that's engaging your audience every week and building your credibility and adding value. This is building your know, like, and trust factor. So I've talked about a lot of stuff here, and please do sign up so that you can get access to the show notes, because I'll break it all down for you so you can just follow it and go through all of these steps. But something like this show, for example, I love going live. I love talking to you guys and hanging out online with you. And that became the cornerstone of my visibility strategy because it was really easy. So that's what you want to do. You want to have something that you love, and you've all heard me talk about this before. I've got a blog post on marketing and getting your marketing plan sorted where I go into that in a lot more detail, and I'll link to that in the show notes as well, so that you can go back and have a look at it. So those are my tips for you in terms of having a plan around your visibility and what you're doing. All right, now we're going to talk about number 2, and this is having a plan for how you generate revenue to hit your goals. Now, anybody who's paying attention will notice that there's a theme here, because this relates to the stuff I'm going to take you through next week in the challenge. So if you like some of the ideas you hear, you've got to sign up and join us. It's going to be amazing. So when you're planning for generating revenue, this is about setting really intentional goals. So this means setting really intentional goals and starting where you really want to be and working back from there. So when I set my goals, I think about, okay, where is it that I want to get to? What are the annual goals that I need to achieve to be able to get to that ideal place in life that I want to be? And then I break them down into 90-day goals. So that's my first tip for you. Have a system around how you set goals. And then from your 90-day goals, you're going to plan how you're going to get there on a month-by-month basis. And then what you're going to do to hit that monthly goal is the stuff we're going to cover in the challenge. So you plan how you're going to split that 90-day goal across 3 months, and then you're going to sit down and say, okay, what am I going to sell? How am I going to sell it? So whenever you set a goal, write it down and say it out loud. Test how it really feels to you, because one thing that I have noticed is that when I'm really paying attention, I know when I don't believe I can hit a goal. Or when I'm doing it because I feel like some guru has said, you have to stretch yourself, set a goal and then double it. You need to think big, think outside the box. And so we get caught up in this hype of goal setting. I'm going to say set a goal that feels right to you, not safe, but right. Because if you set yourself a stretch goal that doesn't feel possible and achievable, then you're not going to achieve it. And there are absolutely exceptions to that rule. I know that 100% there are always, but honestly, it really makes a difference. And that's what I mean by being intentional, because not only are you working it back, you're setting goals at that more granular monthly level that ultimately are getting you where you need to go. And so you've got this really strong connection to the goal that you want to achieve. So let me give you an example. When I sat down and did my 90-day goal, I set a big number for it. And I didn't really feel right about it. I kind of felt like I'd arbitrarily assigned that number. And so what I did was I sat down and set an intention for it, and I worked out, okay, well, what is it that I really want to be able to achieve? I wrote out expenses that I wanted to cover, investments that I wanted to make, how much I wanted to be paying myself and why I wanted that amount of money, and worked it back. And actually the number that I came to was less than that original 90-day goal that I'd set, but it just felt right. I was like, yeah, that's a stretch goal, but I can achieve that. And I really want to achieve that. And I will do anything that I can to get there, because now I know exactly what that's made up of. So being really smart about how you set your goals is really, really important. And then having that solid plan in place for, okay, well, if that's the number that I want to make, how am I going to reach it? What am I going to sell? Who am I going to talk to? How am I going to get in front of them? What's going to be my difference maker in terms of doing it? And I'm going to go through all of that in a lot more detail next week. So if we've systematized how we're showing up, and we've got a process around how we're going to hit our goals and do that in a repeatable way and be really committed to doing them, then the next thing that you want to be doing is planning for how you delight your clients. So planning for how to delight your clients. This is about simple, repeatable, and automated processes that tick the boxes for your clients as soon as they come on board for you. If I were you and you haven't done this already, that's where I would start. I would start with your onboarding. So basically the way to start to get through these things is to sit down and go, okay, what are all the steps that my client needs to go from when they decide that they're going to sign on with me or purchase a product from me to when they've got completion or they're in active service. Now, this can apply irrespective of whether you're a product or a service-based business. So there's the purchasing procedure. How do they pay their money? How do they get confirmation? Do you have a contract that you need to get to them? How do you get the contract to them? How do they find out how to connect with you? How do they get extra information? Write out what all of those practical steps are. And then the next thing you want to do is work out which ones you can automate, and then where can you slot in some little extras. So for example, I enrolled in a course the other day. It was a course I've been really excited about and wanting to get involved in for actually quite a long time. And so I was thrilled just to be there. Of course, I got all of the requisite emails. I got my links. I was able to sign in straight away. I started playing with the bonus content. And then 3 days later, I got home and there was this package sitting on my desk that my husband had just popped there. It had arrived, and it was from the course provider, and they had sent me just some brownies. Like it was actually very, very random, but there was a little card that said, "Thanks for enrolling. We're so excited to work with you. Here's a little thank you." Now, that is completely unusual for the online course space. I'm not suggesting you have to do something like that, but I'm giving it as an example of I was delighted. I was so surprised. It was completely unexpected. And you can do that through a touch point. You can do that through a thank you that comes through another route. There are so many different things that you can do. So I highly recommend that in that automated onboarding process, somewhere you put in something unexpected that just makes them have that little moment of, oh, it feels like a personal connection, even if it's not. Like I'm pretty sure that person completely outsources that entire process, and anybody who pays the money to subscribe to the course, their details go straight off to the provider that organizes all of that, and this person doesn't even need to think about it. But I feel spoiled. So those are the sorts of things that I'm talking about. Have a plan for the experience that they're going to have as they work through with you, or as they receive their product. It can be as simple as, so Apple, for example, they're actually a pretty hands-off service provider in terms of how they deliver product, but they put thought into how their product is packaged. And in fact, they put quite a lot of design thought into your experience as you open the box, the ease of being able to do that, the ease of being able to unwrap, access your product and use it as quickly as possible. Another example is the diary that I like to use, and they send them out. In fact, I think I've got one of them here. I use the Leaders in Heels planners, and when you order it, it comes, and literally all they've done is wrap it in a piece of tissue paper and put a sticker on it. But it comes in a nice box that's branded, and your experience in receiving this item that you've ordered online, it's completely automated, is just made that little bit nicer. So think about how you can delight your clients, and in terms of how you're providing your services or your products to them. I would also think in advance of how much time you need to spend with them, and how you're going to be able to enhance that experience. So one of the things that you can watch out for is, are you going to be limited in time in terms of engaging with them at any point along the process? What can you do to streamline that? So, for example, if you are providing coaching services and you know that you've got a lot of clients on the go at the moment and you're not going to have a heap of extra time to be able to do niceties around, let's say, session number 5, because you know that in that week you're going to have 6 other clients, well, then automate the reminder emails that they get and plan that up front. There are lots of things that you can do to change the experience that you're having with that you're giving them. And the thing that I would love you to take away here, and the comment that I use, is delight early and deliver consistently. Because once they're already happy, then if you deliver consistently, they're going to keep that that measure of delight the whole way through their experience. So, great, adding personal touches. That's pretty much the content that I've got for you today. 3 systems you can be working on right now and implementing in your businesses that are going to change your results. And more importantly, though, they're going to remove some of the chaos from your head. Anybody who's followed me for any time will know that I am all about getting the chaos out of your brain. Maybe that's because that's the place that I live naturally, and I spend lots of effort trying to not be that way. Mum life. So streamline and automate as much as you possibly can. It just frees you up to be able to grow. You can't grow unless you get out of the chaos. And that's a wrap for today's episode. If you enjoy listening to the Mums in Biz show, I would love for you to leave us a review on iTunes, and be sure to post a snap of you enjoying the show on Instagram and tag me at nicole.tuerick. You can also join in the conversation with me in the Mums in Biz tribe on Facebook. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode of the Mums in Biz show.